Alright everybody, hello, it is time to smurf. I don't like smurfing, I don't like losing games on purpose, so that I can beat people easier than me. But we're doing this in the name of education, in the name of thousands of requests to do so. So let's start Bronze to GM here, today, right now. We've left a bunch of matches, I think like 8 or 9 matches or something. We accidentally got a win. We're in Bronze 1 right now. We've actually technically at Silver 1 MMR, but they're still going to have plenty of time before we get to gold, platinum, and so on, teaching all the fundamental concepts. So it really doesn't matter that we're not starting in bronze 3 at 1500 MMR. I don't want to torture too many low-level players by outclassing them. I'm not going to just be dumping on people. This is all about teaching things, and we're going to try and teach you all the fundamental skills you need to become a good player in StarCraft in the correct order. So here's a couple of notes I've got for the beginning, right? It's just one page of notes I wrote out, and I was like, okay, we need to start with some mechanics. We're going to talk about how to just make a couple of really basic modifications to the standard setup for what is the most standard kind of changes to your hotkeys to allow you to use camera locations, because that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm not actually going to use these mechanics throughout. I'm going to stick to the core, which is my own specialized custom hotkeys, so that my brain, rather than trying to use different standard keys, is going to be focused on explaining the concepts in the game. We're going to be linking up resources throughout. We've got, of course, already a link to Pig Daily number 10, Fundamentals. So people who want to go deeper can go and do deeper stuff. Basic game plan. Use this as a guidepost to build your fundamentals. Okay, so we're going to be going over that as well. That's going to be cool. Check this out. So we've got that one open here. Beginner Zerg opening from Welcome to Starcraft. Now, I think we actually have the build up on screen at the start. That's probably all we need from this video, is this screenshot right here. And this is going to be our one-size-fits-all standard Zerg opening. That's incredibly safe, that we can just use as a building block for all 3 matchups, every situation. It's going to get us to like the 4-minute or 5-minute mark of the game with a solid situation. And we're going to tack a general game plan onto that, which is going to be make a bunch of roaches and go kill my opponent with them. There might be a little bit of reacting from there, but we'll see exactly how it goes. It's mostly going to be, oh, he has flying things. I'll make things that shoot flying things. I'll add hydras to it. Otherwise, I'm just going to make more roaches and try to kill him again. And we're going to be following this very simple format. And I tell people, right until you're up in platinum and often even beyond,
thanks for the Bezos
a good
box.
format for learning StarCraft is basically learn your macro. Absolutely. Get up to 2 bases of workers, hit your injects as quickly as possible. Bam, 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 bam. And then, guess what? Do nothing but, if you get your upgrade started, and just pump army. Pump army. For Zerg, we're going to do 2 bases of workers and just pump roaches. Maybe make some ravage as well, and then try and kill our opponent. If you're Terran, it might be Marine, Tank, Medevac. If you're Protoss, it might be like Zealot, Immortal Archon. Who knows? It's up to you a little bit on what army you want to use. That I'm very big on. You should always in StarCraft. People are like, but what's the best army? And it's like, it's a strategy game. There's a few generic compositions that kind of work in all situations, but it all depends on how your opponent's playing the game. And you want to start with a baseline style that you go to, that you get good at, and you can learn your reactions from that. And this just allows you to learn the basic habits. And that's what a lot of what we're going to be focusing on today is going to be these. We're going to be learning how to inject and build that as a habit based around the macro cycle. We're going to learn how to control group eggs. Those are the 2 things which no one will know how to do at first. And they need these mechanics as a basis to become a good Zerg player. We're then going to add the macro cycle so that the Zergs start to build a mechanic of every 30 seconds, I inject, I build, I go through and I do all my macro, and then in between that I do the other things. And we're also going to start building good habits around map vision, with both Zergling spotters on the maps as well as overlords out there. So here's the first tip, guys. Make sure your in-game settings are good. So what you want to do is you want to press Control, Alt, and F. And you're going to notice that brings this up in the top left. And when you're in game, you're going to be able to see your FPS. And if your FPS isn't above, say, 120, 130 in the early game, you absolutely need to turn your graphics settings down. Okay? So I'm playing a lot on medium. I've got physics on high. Why? Because I've got a 2 PC streaming setup and I've got a sick AMD powered monster here that is absolutely killing it. But if you turn a lot of these settings down as CPU intensive, actually, that's usually what changes your FPS. So turn your graphics down on low if you need to. If you're playing on integrated graphics especially, you need to have that FPS. And remember, that's going to drop a lot in big fights. So it's really hard to micro if you're getting really low in FPS, especially if you're playing team games. So turn all that down. Before we go any more settings, this is actually the biggest one, guys. Notice there's people here talking about politics and spamming penis and the F word. So here's the most important thing. Click in your chat box. So you're in the game, click versus. This is your main hangout. Click down here and you want to type /leave space general. And you never want to rejoin that channel ever again, because that is where fucking losers hang out. Okay, guys? You don't want to be a loser, do you? You want to... That is, honestly, that is the worst place you could ever hang out to meet people in StarCraft. It's where the fucking absolute dregs of society hang out. And actually, I mean, maybe... I don't know how active it is anymore, but let's join Adopt a Noob. I don't know how active it is these days, but there's like fucking 80,000 people in there. My man! So let's join Adopt a Noob. And that let's always just have that one, and we can go into our social settings and rejoin channels on login. Make sure you tick that one, and there we go. And we can go, hey guys, I'm a newbie. Could someone help me out? There might be some people in there in Masters, Diamond, Plat who'll give you help. Obviously, a better place is my Discord or my Twitch channel or Reddit. Reddit all things Zerg, Reddit all things Terran, Reddit all things Protoss. One of those places is going to be even better. All right, so adjust your graphics settings just to make sure they're not too high. If you guys want more info about optimal graphic settings for visual stuff to see things clearly, give hybrid StarCraft hybrid graphics a Google. There's a Team Liquid thread that goes through all the fancy details if you want to get into that. Sound, I'll let you guys do this. I have no preferences on that. Don't give a shit. Just make sure it's not deafening loud. Mouse and keyboard. Oh my god, my brother changed my mouse sensitivity and I didn't notice. Little shit. My mouse sensitivity was off by 5%. I didn't even... Apparently, I just adjusted to it. Oh my god, that little bastard. And my scroll speed, apparently. Oh, actually, I think this is because it's a different account. Oh, I think because this is a different account, it's actually... save different settings. Okay, because I haven't really played proper games on this. So first thing is enable mouse sensitivity and put that on 51%. And what's more important is you need to go into Windows, okay? So we're just going to really quickly go over these settings. You should do this early rather than later. We're going to open, so control panel on Windows. You guys are going to have to do some searching to figure out how to do this if you're on a crapple computer, but give it a go. So you want mouse properties and keyboard properties. And mouse properties, we're going to go pointer options, and we're going to make sure that this is unticked. That's on by default. That's Microsoft's shit button. It's mouse acceleration. It means the mouse speeds up as it moves across the screen. It makes it really hard to develop consistent control with your hand. That's just get rid of it early on. You might find it weird at first. You'll get used to it very quickly. The next thing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He changed the mouse setting in here as well, the little shit bag. Oh my god, and he didn't even change it back when he left. The little shit has been changing my mouse settings. I'm so mad right now, guys. It should be on 6 bars out of 11. I can't believe he went and changed my mouse settings in Windows and didn't tell me. I'm so mad at my brother right now, guys. Oh my god. So anyway, that should be 6 bars out of 11 usually. And then you can adjust your DPI on your mouse. Most mice have like an up and down button and they have built-in profiles. You can obviously download your specific mouse software to adjust that. If you need to adjust it up or down, you can, but I would rather you do that in-game. And apparently there is something to do with you keeping it on an odd number in-game is going to really help you out. Other than that, guys, make sure these are on the far right-hand side. Now, why do we need the repeat rate and the repeat delay on the shortest and fastest possible? Long story short, a lot of the time in StarCraft, you can hold down a button. If you've got like 2,000 minerals and like 10 barracks, you want to just build like 40 Marines all at once. So you just want to hold down that Marine hotkey and let it build Marines, right? So the default hotkey for Marines is A. So if you are on really shitty settings and you hold down A, let's see how long it takes to queue up 40 Marines here. Oh my. Oh my god. You might as well just tap it. You can tap it faster than that. That's terrible. But if we go shortest possible delay before it kicks in, and then the fastest possible repeat rate, let's build 40 Marines. Oh yeah, we just built 40 Marines in a second. And if you guys are super hardcore, you can even go into your Windows registry and fiddle with that more. Not necessary early on though. Just make sure those settings are like that. Apply, and we should be all good. Now let's go back here. The most important setting here is mouse scroll speed. This one by default is on 20%. That's absolute friggin' shit. Now this is when your mouse goes to the edge of the screen, it's your screen moving around, guys. So you want that one to be up at least 40%. A lot of people find it disorienting the first time they do it. I play at 88. Most pros play at 100, 80 to 100%. Maru plays at 40%. Very few pros, like I said, play below like 60, 70, 80. But anywhere at least go to 40% minimum. So when your screen moves around quicker, otherwise you're going to be waiting a long time for your screen to actually move to where it needs to get to. We don't really use drag scroll and keyboard scroll much. Some people do use these. You should never be using drag scroll. Maybe just turn that on 0. That's your arrow keys. If you guys have if you scroll around using your arrow keys on your keyboard, stop right now. I coached someone who did that. Then I was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? This is not a turn-based game. That's like using, I don't know, you put your guitar on the ground and play it with your foot only. And I'm like, you meant to use 2 hands, buddy. He's like, no, I just use one big toe. That's how I play the guitar. It's not feasible. This is something you need to be playing StarCraft way too fast. All right, into the gameplay options. We've got display build grid. Now, why do we turn show alerts off? Show alerts is just a bunch of noise that fills up the screen with like, hey, a building finished. Hey, this finished. This is something that might help you at the very beginning of the game. If you want to leave it on, I guess it's not the worst thing in the world, but I would try to instead build habits of looking around your base and kind of checking what's happening and trying to learn to keep things in your head. I find most people, even if they leave this on, they don't even see it after a few games. It just becomes shit that's on the screen. So I would really advise you turn this off. Now, display build grid, you want that turned on. We want always show worker status. That's really nice. Shows you how many workers you got mining on a base or a gas. Enable simple command card. We want that turned off. We want show current order indicator. That allows us to see in replays and in game where we've given our units move or attack commands and waypoints, which is really cool. We don't want select all lava on. We want enable enemy unit selection. If you don't have this clip, you can't click on your opponent's units or buildings to see what the building or unit is or to check their upgrades. So that's really bad. You also want display experience points on so that you can see when units die. If there's an invisible unit you kill, guess what? You get a nice bright experience point number popping up above it. Also, if you're looking around and you catch just after a fight's happened and you're not sure what happened, oh, there's a whole lot of blue numbers popping up, you know you killed a bunch of stuff. So the experience points is really good for visibility of what's going on in fights. Likewise, unit life bars should be on always. There are some very high level players who prefer damaged, but most tip-top pros love always. It allows you to see spellcasters very clearly. It allows you to see all the health bars and see where the units are. It's not as pretty, but it's much more visible what is going on in game. So I definitely advise always. Control groups should be unclickable. And that basically just means you can't accidentally click on your little control group thing on the heads up. Show flyer helper on always. And that should be most of our settings. Let's take a little look-see. Yeah, I think that should be good. Why is select all lava off? It's so if you want to just build one specific... I mean, that one really doesn't matter. Okay, so that's a good question. Select all lava, why is that off? I will manually click a lava that's closer to where I want it to go. So if I want to select a single lava and I want it to be like the one that's right next to the mineral patch that I want to send the drone to. It's a complicated thing. It's not important for noobs, but there's just no reason to have select all lava on, in my opinion. You should 90% of the time be selecting your lava by actually selecting off the hatchery anyway. So this is such a minor mechanic. This one doesn't matter. That's just personal preference. Okay, keybinds. That's right. So going back to our document, what's next? We are going to show you guys how to change standard hotkey profile in a couple of very simple ways. Okay, guys? So we're going to change this bronze to GM example. Okay? So this is basically just going to be a standard modified setup. And there is a couple of very basic things that you want to change. The main thing is we want to change our camera location. So go to global camera And these, by default, absolutely suck balls. Now, we only really need... we want to use Control F1 for camera location 1 through to Control F8. Now, this is going to allow us to jump between our bases using the most standard method. So this is going to make F1 to F8 camera locations. And for those who don't know, if you just get used to the first 4, that alone is going to make you a much better player. So we'll start with just using those. Now, by doing that, we also need to go through and change these to correspond, right? Because we've changed the create location, and this is where we create an area of the map that we can select a button to jump to later on. So we want 1 is F1, so we want this to be F1. F2, F3, let's scroll down, F4, F5, F6, F7, F8. Okay, now that has created one small problem. There's a couple of unbounds now. So we're going to make the select army units, that is the famous F2 button, a little bit more accessible. So we're going to chuck that one on tilde. See that line? That is also the squiggly line. Tilde or backwards apostrophe. I don't know what you want to call it, but call it whatever. So we've got that one. And then we've got, we don't need push to talk. Unit management. So this is your idle worker button, which will usually be pressing Control plus this one. This one we don't need to press as much. We're just going to put that on caps lock. It's a key that's not really used for anything. Some people's Windows or keyboards, that might turn sticky keys on and off. So if you want, you can use a different key, maybe W or something like that. But I think caps lock usually is just fine. So caps lock and tilde are used for those, and the other keys are for that. Now, with the standard hotkey setups, why am I showing you standard? Because hotkeys is a deep and long thing that you can customize a huge amount. So we're playing as Zerg. There are some keys that suck ass. Let's be real. Infestation Pit is on I, all the way on the right side of your keyboard. Ultra Cavern is on U. That sucks. You guys can go through and customize these to keys over on the left side of the keyboard that feel a little bit more... They make sense for you, they're easy to reach. But you can do that depending on your race and how you prefer to do it on your own. And you can absolutely go deep on, if you're using a grid setup, you can do those changes as well that I just did without messing anything up. But if you're using standard grid, if you want to learn a super optimized but hard to learn setup like the core, go do your own research, check it out. For now, these are the most basic standard adjustments that most of the player base uses. One last little thing there, that was in mouse and keyboard. Disable Windows key is nice. Just means if you hit your Windows key, it's not going to tab you out. I like to leave Alt-Tab so that I can still Alt-Tab out because I never accidentally press Alt-Tab. But definitely that just is going to stop you accidentally tabbing out of the game. So we've set up camera locations. We've gone through the game settings. I mean, let's get into game and just talk about how to build good habits as a Zerg player, guys. What's up, guys? Is smurfing in StarCraft normal? This is not smurfing. This really is smurfing, guys. This really is smurfing. It's educational smurfing, but it is smurfing. I love that you're trying to defend me. You're trying to defend Vibe and everyone. We are smurfing. We lost games on purpose to play easier opponents. Are we doing it with good in mind and teaching? Yes. But it is still smurfing. We left a bunch of games on purpose to lower our MMR, our skill rating, so that we are starting in the Metal Leagues. Now let's give it a go. We're up against someone here who appears to have a silver border, and it's going to be a Zerg versus Terran. Now there's a lot of things that can distract you about your opponent, but let's not get distracted. Let's focus on learning our basics, okay? First thing first, control, select your hatchery, throw that on your control group, and build a drone. Now I forgot to change my hotkeys back to what it was before. Oh. Here we go. Hopefully these work. And you're going to build drones and then an overlord. You're going to take your first overlord and you're going to put this on your first army key. And we're just going to send that to the front of our opponent's base. And once your overlord pops out, we're going to build drones. So what are we doing? We're going to be learning our opponent's build, our basic beginner build order. Now I've linked that one up in the document and I will be linking it up some more. So we're building drones. We take our second overlord, we move that to the natural expansion. We set our rally point down there. And we're going to go for a 17 spawning pool. So 17 supply, we build a spawning pool. And then it's going to be... Let's tab out. Let's take a look at our build order, shall we? What's our build order say? 17 pool, 17 hatch, 17 gas. Cool. So we'll take a drone down there, and we'll go take the hatchery, also on 17 supply. And then we'll build a gas geyser as well. Now, I'm literally just trying to relearn this build order. But what did we just do there? What was this tapping? You guys can hear it tapping. You can see me jumping around. So, at the start, I make my hotkey, my hatchery, and then I add it to my control group. I double tap the control group so it's centered, and I create camera location 1. Which for you guys would be control F1, but it all depends on your setup. Now, the natural, as soon as I build it, I set the rally point. I add it to control group. I set both their rally points. Now, rally points are just right click. And you should always be doing that with all your hatchery control groups at once where possible. Now, we then want to double tap the control group so it centers. Or you could click here if you prefer. And we're going to make camera location 2. We're then going to go to our 3rd. We're going to create a camera location 3. We're then going to go to our 4th. Create camera location 4. And we'll leave it at that for now. I will create 5th and a rally point at the front. And then you can see that without my mouse, I can go number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and to my rally point, which is at the front of the base. Now, this whole process has taken a while. Let's defend this Reaper. Let's just build another queen and build some more drones. And we might actually lose a couple of our early games, to be honest, just because we're going to spend so much time focusing on these basic kind of things that we're talking about, which is cool. But the idea is that should take you almost no time to set up early on. And that's something that you can build as a habit right from the start if you are someone who wants to learn that. If you guys don't want to learn that, you're going to have to use a different inject method to me. So do your own research. If you're like, look, I don't want to do this camera location stuff. Look at that. And you might be like, whoa, how are you jumping around so fast? I'm literally just pressing buttons. F1, F2, F3, F4. Or for me, it's different buttons because I'm using the core. And it looks really intimidating and scary. All I'm doing is button, 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 button. There's nothing crazy happening right now. It looks crazy, but that's nice. If you guys don't want to learn that method, look up the spacebar or backspace injecting method and a few others and you can find something easier. But I'm explaining what I'm doing so that you're not confused by what I'm doing in the game and you're understanding what's happening. So that's the first thing in terms of the mechanics. Now, in terms of control groups, we are going to have 3 control groups that we start with and we can add more to that as we go on, okay? The first control group 1 for you guys is going to be your hatcheries, okay? Notice all of my hatcheries are on control group 1 and they're visible here. And then my army group is on number 2. Now, at some point down the line, I can have a second army group on number 3. But we don't care about that for now. So for now, it's hatcheries on 1, army on 2, okay? Awesome. All right, well, we are potentially just going to die here if we don't build some more stuff. So let's build some links and some drones, see what we can do. Cool. Looks like we're going to lose our first game. This is really well done. 4 minutes 30 in Silver League. We're already running in with this many Hellions. This is really impressive. So we'll just talk more about what we're doing in a sec. Cool, cool. So all we're going to do now is just keep building drones. Now, this is good. We're basically dead in the water in this game. So let's talk about how we can recover. So we're going to take a 3rd base, and this is really good because that's going to help us. We'll build a 3rd queen as well. We're going to talk about injecting. Now, what did I just do? I just injected those hatcheries very quickly. Let's slow down that and show you guys my injecting method. So the one thing that's really important as a Zerg is to use your queens to regularly inject your hatcheries. It takes 30 seconds for an inject to happen. Technically 29, but we'll say 30. And the way you inject is basically, oh, I'm looking around the map. Maybe I'm microing an overlord. And then we say, ooh, it's time to inject. So camera location 1 jumps to our main and we drag a big old box and we just inject in the center of our screen. We then go camera location 2, big old box, inject in the center of our screen. The important thing is because your camera locations are centered, you don't even really need to look at what you're doing once you get used to this. It's just drag a big box and click in the center of your screen. And this becomes this deep muscle memory habit, okay? So we're going to spread 1 creep tumor just so this queen can get over there, and then we're going to be able to inject with 3 hatcheries. Now remember, I built this hatchery. What do we do when we build a hatchery? And Starcraft is all about building good habits from the start. We're going to select the hatchery. We're going to add it to our control group. We're then going to double tap the control group, center the camera location, which you can't perfectly center it until you've got the hatchery down. We're then going to rally all of our hatcheries to that base, and we're going to rally our rally point for our units out the front. And we can build a whole lot of drones. I just built 14 drones all at once. Guess what, guys? Time for another macro cycle. We jump to the right, to the main, box the queen, inject. Jump to the natural, box the queen, inject. Jump to the third, box the queen, inject. Now, this is where we want to introduce the next concept, which is very important. I'm going to build a roach warren, by the way. And we're going to build a few more drones here just so that we can potentially survive the next attack, which will probably be coming pretty soon. Because I'd like to explain a few more concepts before this game is over, but I'm worried it won't work. We'll also build a spore crawler there and there. I'd like to explain a few more concepts. All right, so here we go. We can make Zergling speed as well. All right, so the next thing is that you shouldn't really just be trying to attack me with that without Zerglings, and just keep building drones so that this kind of absorbs the losses. Hopefully. Man, I really want to show how to do a macro cycle. That's fine. Let's ignore that. Let's ignore that for now. Send some drones over to the third. No worries. Ooh. I know, I'm trying to educate people, and this guy's just running Hellions in my base. What a dick. Pretty good Hellion micro, too. This is, like, really impressive for Silver League, guys. We're just gonna clean these Hellions up so we can get back to bloody macroing my base. Hello? We're gonna attack move him with 3 roaches to try and just keep him distracted. We're not gonna look at them. We're hoping that gives me a bit of time here, okay? All right, so the next concept is the macro cycle. So you shouldn't just be injecting every 30 seconds. As a Zerg, it's really hard to manage your lava popping out of all your hatcheries. Spend your money if you don't have a macro cycle. So what we want is that every 30-second inject cycle we talk about, we want to use that to link all of our basic tasks together. And this is the most fundamental habit. This is like learning how to run for the first time in a sport. It's your basic fitness that allows you to run around and play basketball or soccer or anything like that, okay, guys?
Our forces are under attack.
Now, let's do an inject cycle. But this time it's going to be a full macro cycle. Inject, inject, inject. And then we want to spend our lava. So you build a bunch of drones or roaches or Zerglings, depending on what you're building. And then you save your last few lava. You reselect your hatcheries and you build overlords. That way you're always building injects, and then you're building units, and then you're building overlords in every single game. And then about 30 seconds later, you're doing things. Once again, inject, 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 build some drones, and build some overlords. And if you can build this as a habit, notice that there's a lot of time. This timer even perfectly resembles how long until we need to be doing an inject again. And this time is free time. So what can we do in free time? Ooh, I want to get evolution chambers so I can build upgrades. So we can box our queens in the main, our drones, sorry. We can go build Evo, build Evo. Oh, I can micro against these Hellions. Yeah, okay, cool. Let's micro. Let's build a spine crawler. You know, whatever you want to do. You just basically you go do, and then you go, oh wait, I think about 30 seconds is built up. And so you want to make sure over time you build this as something in your brain that kind of sits there. Inject, 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 build drones, and then reselect the hatcheries, build overlords. We're out of money. So obviously we can't do it right now because we've lost this game. But that's the important thing there is when you're playing StarCraft, a lot of people go, I'm so nervous to play my first match. I'm worried I'll lose. I'm nervous. I know I'll suck. You should be wanting to lose your first matches. All it's about is, you know, a lot of people step into their first StarCraft match kind of, and I think the analogy I like to give is they give the attitude of, you're basically like, oh, I'm going to learn guitar. And I'm like, okay, cool. They haven't even learnt a single song, and they want to step on a stage in front of an audience and play and perform. And I'm like, do you think nobody has that expectation about playing guitar? Nobody goes to a chess tournament their first time playing chess, but that's essentially what the ladder is. Going to that and expecting to win games is absolutely batshit crazy insane. So for anyone out there who's stressed about playing their first ladder games, is worried about it, just try and remember that you're actually, like, it's just not going to happen, and you shouldn't expect it to happen. Why would you expect to win your first games? It doesn't make any sense. Also, you shouldn't be wanting to. You should be wanting to understand how to do some good basic habits to make you a better player. And if you start off with this in mind, you're going to get so much better. Guess what, guys? Time to do another macro cycle. Inject, 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 and build drones, select the lava, build overlords. Now, keep in mind, you're like, people stress over this, and they're like, man, I don't get it every 30 seconds. I always forget. My queens bank up energy. I feel really bad. Trust me, if you do this in an organized fashion, you are going to be infinitely better than players right through bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and diamond at spending your money. Even in Diamond League, players are so short on attention. Their ability to actually watch what's going on and do multiple things is just not there, guys. It's just not there. And that's the starving factor. So don't worry about perfect efficiency in StarCraft, because even pros don't have it. StarCraft is a lot more about being able to roll with the punches and continue to just do things effectively. Not perfectly, not super efficiently, but just somewhat effectively. Just have some structure and just keep doing things in the chaos. StarCraft is in many ways a game where it's about rolling with the punches and continuing to try and find some structure in this chaos. It's like, I like the analogy of learning a song on the guitar or the piano, except there's a guy running up and trying to kick you in the balls the whole time. If you don't have balls, maybe he's giving you a nipple cripple, bit of a titty twister. I don't know. Something like that. It's very disruptive. So it's very important for you to not obsess over winning or losing, and to just kind of focus on, let's build some good habits. Inject. Inject. Oh, I don't have a queen on the natural. Let's send that there. Build more drones. Let's rally over to my third, because this base has too many workers, so we can rally there. And then build an overlord as well. Now, there are moments if you've got a lot of free supply where you can stop on the overlords and just build units. But generally speaking, if you can just keep that as a habit, that's going to be really good for you. So, GG, well played. Let's move on to the next game. Okay. So next game, we're going to work on this again. But now that we've talked about those base habits a little bit more, we're going to try and get the build order down. Okay, guys? So let's tab out. Let's remember. Let's look at this build order, shall we? Okay, so we want to go 17 pool, 17 hatch, 17 gas. So we're keeping an eye on the supply camp. We're trying to have a bit more urgency with the build order. We're going to get 21 overlord, 23 queen, 36 defensive tech, roachhorn, baneling nest, 44 third hatchery, overlord scout. Now, this doesn't mention everything, by the way, guys. There are some details in there that are not mentioned, that are just basic things. What are the basic things that you always do in StarCraft before you even need a build order? So we select the hatchery, build a drone, we add this to our control group, double tap it, create camera location, send our overlord over our opponent's natural expansion, and let's make our camera location on our natural, number 2 camera location, build an overlord right after the drone. So it's drone, then overlord, then drone. You're then supply capped for a little bit. Let's go make camera location 3, camera location 4, camera location 5, and my rally point. Now let's jump back to the main, and we're just building drones. I'm already holding down my drone key, waiting for that overlord to pop. Now notice the overlord is just sitting here. That should always go sit above your natural, and then if we can queue it out front, that's even better. And keep building drones. Now notice we're at 17 supply, so right on 200 minerals. We want to put the spawning pool down. This is something you're going to suck at when you first start, but over time, you're going to get better at it. Now the trick here is when we get to about 150 minerals, so about now, we want to take a drone and send that to our expansion to build a hatchery there. Because we're at 17 pool, 17 hatch. And notice we're getting here before we have the money to make sure we're getting things down immediately. Remember, we select the hatchery, add it to control group, double tap, center our camera location, set the rally point for both hatcheries, jump back to the main, and then we build a drone, we build a gas, that's 17 gas, and what else do we do? Just keep building drones. That's what you always do, just keep building drones. Whenever there's nothing else to do in the build, what are you doing? Drones. We start a queen as soon as our spawning pool is finished. By default, you always start a queen as soon as that's finished. And then we want to build one more drone because it's 21 overlord next. Now notice we're a bit oversaturated here. So we want to take 3 drones. Now notice I used a little technique there. So check this out. Let's say I select let's say I select 2 drones and I want to add one more. We're going to use shift to grab a third drone, to add that to what I had selected, and then click them on the gas. Okay, now let's build that 21 Overlord. Let's queue up another queen here. This queen pops out. We're going to inject, and then we're going to send it down to the natural. Okay. This is where we should talk about rallying units as we build them. So a cool little habit, guys. We want to have overlords outside our bases to see stuff going on. So this overlord is just going to my rally point. We don't want to have 10 overlords sitting there, right? Let's click the overlord here. Next overlord we build. As we build it, watch, I select my hatcheries. So number 1, select hatcheries, build overlord. And what I'm going to do, I don't need to click down here in the wireframe, but notice that overlord's there. I can just right click because I've got that egg selected. And that overlord is going to pop out and naturally go there. And notice these overlords are going to kind of create a ring of vision around our bases. That's bloody awesome. Well, time for our first macro cycle, guys. Inject, inject, hold down the drone key. And notice that our main base is saturated. We don't have the second gas yet, but that's okay. Let's select our hatcheries and rally to the natural. And this is the way you want to rally. This is the way you want to manage your workers as you do it, is you basically just want to do that and build a few overlords as well, which I forgot to do there. And when this base gets saturated, we can rally to a third base. So this way, you don't need to tell your drones to constantly move around. You just change the rally point and they naturally go to the newest base where they're meant to go. Now, next macro cycle, inject, inject, build drones, and build 2 overlords. Now I've got plenty of supply free. That's inefficient when you get to higher levels. When you're in lower leagues, you want to have a really big supply gap free. It's better to just build overlords every cycle to make sure you don't mess up on it. It's way better to have a few overlords ahead of time than it is to mess up. Now we're going to take these overlords. Notice I've boxed them both. And then I grab one and I put it there. All right. Inject, inject, build drones, build overlords. And we're building this as a habit. Notice that this is automatic. This is super automatic. Okay, so let's try to now check our build order. What's it say? It says, okay, we need to get some defensive tech and that sort of stuff. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go roaches. So we get a roach warren. Now notice we've got too many workers. Oh no. So this is the point where in between these macro cycles, let's do some other tasks. We're going to make a lair. We're going to make a gas. We're going to make 2 more gases. Time for another macro cycle. So whenever you're doing those other tasks in your build, interrupt them. Just stop them if you need to. And go inject, inject, build drones, build overlords. That's a lot of adepts. With Glaves at 5 minutes in Silver League. Jesus, how many sad people are there on the ladder smurfing? That's a ridiculous timing to be hitting in Bronze or Silver League. This is actually insane. I don't know if they're sniping me on purpose or not, but that's actually hilarious because I'm always really like, surely there aren't that many Smurfs out there, but apparently there are. This is hilarious. Cool, that's fine. GG, well played. So we don't have anything left there, but I mean, this is keeping us in bronze, which is cool. People are saying it's 1 base though. It is, but still pretty impressive. I mean, I am playing a 2500 MMR opponent. So fair enough. I'm not meant to be beating these players. It says they're in Masters 3. Oh, they are a Smith. No. There is a bug on the ladder right now where if you're anywhere in the middle leagues, it basically says you're in Bronze 1 or you're in Masters at the moment. So it's a little bit of a bug. Keep in mind, all that matters is MMR. That MMR is, I believe, Silver 1 MMR? I'm not 100% sure exactly what it is, the MMR boundaries, but I think it's about Silver 1, Gold 3. Chat says that's Gold 3. This is North America, remember, but I think Gold 3 is roughly where it is. Maybe Gold 2. So let's review what we've been learning so far and make sure we always put that into the context of kind of what we're actually focusing on. Okay, so we talked about a few things. We talked about the macro cycle a lot. We talked about how to inject, right? What have we not talked about yet, guys? Okay, we talked about saturating a base and moving on. Talked a little bit about manual rallying of eggs. We haven't talked about a lot of this stuff yet. Because we haven't really talked about how to play the game. And the whole point of a Bronze 2GM is we need to teach you guys how to play the game. So this next one, I've already talked about all those fundamental things. Let's talk a little bit more about the build order only. Okay, so let's focus on this build order and try to give you guys more of a direction so you can feel like you're playing the game. Because I think I'm spending way too long talking about theory for those of you with shorter attention spans. Most people playing video games don't have the longest attention span. Let's get straight on into it, okay? So guys, this time, using those mechanics, we're not going to be showing you as slowly. It's going to be a little bit quicker. And we're going to be hitting the build order just right. So let's remember, I'll tab out really quickly here. 36 Roach Warren, 44 third hatchery. Okay? And then we'll go for an Overlord Scout right after we drop that third hatchery. And then we'll get 2 bases of workers. We'll make roaches. We'll make roach speed. And we'll try to kill our opponent. Will it work? Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't matter. The point is, we have a clear goal. So, build a drone. Select the hatchery. Center the camera location. Send our worker across the map to the front of the opponent's base. And what are we doing, guys? We're building an Overlord next. So notice I'm already tapping. I'm already tapping this key to build that Overlord. And then, building a drone right afterwards. We're going to set the rally point to the natural, set the natural camera location, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, and the rally point. Now we're going to keep building drones, because remember we need to get to 17 supply, 1 more drone, and we need to build a spawning pool.
For the
So notice when I'm at about 150 minerals, we're going to grab the drone, move it to where the spawning pool wants to go, and we're already pressing the key, doop, 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 so we can get it down the moment we have the money. Spending your money as soon as you get it, this is just a solid, standard RTS concept to make sure we're actually getting things as quickly as we possibly can. Okay, so remember about 150 minerals, take a drone, move down to the natural, expand. I would normally use my camera locations. I'm scrolling a little bit to kind of show you guys me moving the camera, but really I should be using my camera locations, and that's what I'd normally do. Build the hatchery, center it, add to control group, build another drone, build a gas, and then keep building drones, keep building drones, keep building drones. Make sure we've got that rally point there, build another drone. So we need to build a queen. We also need to put drones on this. So notice I could actually take these eggs and even rally them there. Let's build a queen and 21 Overlord. So we're trying to build an Overlord right now. And we're going to click that one out front of the base. Remember what I was saying? Get that ring of vision. Use those Overlords as nice spotting units. Base is saturated. So, guess what, guys? Select hatchery hotkey, rally to the natural. And we can build 2 Zerglings if we want. So I'm going to build 2 Zerglings, and I'm just going to click them into their base as a scout. You know what? Actually, I don't need to do that. Let's put them outside their base to see if my opponent attacks me. Keep building drones. Keep building drones, and let's queue up another queen because we want to build 2 queens off this base. And remember, what does our first queen do? She injects, and then she moves to the natural to inject that hatchery, okay? Keep building drones. Let's make Zergling speed. When we have 100 gas, we should always make Zergling speed. Otherwise, Zerglings really suck as fighting units, but if you get that, it just makes them way better. Keep building drones. Keep building drones. Now, notice we're getting pretty close to our supply gap. So let's build an extra Overlord and click it down here. And I don't even need to click here. Notice I'm moving my camera to show you guys, but I don't need to do that. I can actually just right click on the minimap. So build Overlord, right click. And notice I've just told an Overlord to go and guard that top bit of the minimap. Now, guess what, guys? Macro cycle. Inject, inject, build drones. And, oh, I didn't save any lava for Overlords. Whoops. Now, some people like to build Overlords first every time to make sure they don't do that, but I'm just going to wait for another lava to pop out. And there we go. We can build an Overlord. All right, guys, we're at about 36 supply. That's when we build a Roach Warren. My Overlord is dying. Oh, no. So we're going to actually put this here. This is what we call a pervert pillar. Now, notice we've lined up this line underneath it onto that bit of high ground. We also can take a Zergling. So we've got one there to see if he attacks. We can put one there, so we'll see if he comes out. Macro cycle time. Inject, inject, build drones, build some Overlords. And 44 supply, we're meant to take a 3rd base. So let's go build a 3rd base now. We're pretty close to 44 supply. We've got the money, we might as well. So we're going to put that hatchery down, and what do? Select it, add it to the hotkey, double tap to center it, center the camera location. And that is going to be just for production. Now at this point, inject, inject, more drones, some Overlords. We've got plenty of Overlords, so just more drones for now. And we want gas. Gas, gas. Now notice I don't go build gas, select other drone, build gas. I box them, and I go build gas, click, click. Batch things up. Do a bunch of things at once. Don't waste your time. Oh, go do this. Oh, go do this. And we're going to make a lair now. Now, here's a little hot tip you guys can do as a Zerg player. So let's do a macro cycle, but this time we're not going to build the drones. Why? Because we're going to select this hatchery, build 3 drones, click on the gas. Go to the natural, build 3 drones, click on the gas. Reselect the hatchery, build 3 drones, click on the gas. And guess what, guys? We've already got too many drones for 2 bases. I could even grab a few of these and put them back in the main. That means we're done macroing. What do we do from here? All we do from here is build roaches. So let's build my first roaches. Oh, okay, we're actually getting to the point where we build army. Inject. It's roaches rather than drones this time around. Now, roaches chew up a lot of supply, so I really need to make sure that I'm actually building plenty of overlords here. Lots and lots of overlords. And when I build these overlords, I've already got my ring of vision. So I just click them in the back of my base so that they don't die if my opponent attacks me. Now, when your lair is finished, you can get roach speed, which is the most important upgrade for roaches. It's huge. And what are we doing? Well, we haven't really scouted, so let's send our overlord through the base, okay? And behind this, let's go inject, build roaches, and build overlords. And we're just going to build roaches. Now, when do you attack? In general, let's think about this in a really simple way. And we'll talk about what I'm doing with the control grouping the army in a little bit. I haven't talked about it yet. We'll talk about it in the next one. The general rule is you only want to attack when it makes a lot of sense to attack. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's very situational depending on what your opponent's doing. On a high level, do they have a good defensive position? Do they have units that are good versus you? All of this is white effing noise. Until you're in Diamond League or even beyond there, don't even think about it. Instead, do a macro cycle, inject, build roaches. And all I've got to think about here is what have I done for the last few minutes of this game? I stopped building drones about 2 minutes ago, and all I've done is build roaches. So if you've put all of your production, all your economy, all your resources into those units, and their most important upgrade is finishing, guess what? You've dumped everything into army. It's basically the idea of just putting your weight behind a punch, right? You're putting everything in one direction. There's a good chance it'll work. So, one more macro cycle, inject, build more roaches, supply block, build a few overlords, and let's go for an attack. Now, this is a point in the game where a lot of people will say, don't look at your army, take another base, build more drones. That's where I differ. I will say, stare the shit at your army and see what you're going up against. And go, ooh, this is a really scary choke point to attack through. So let's go around this way instead. And you know what? Oh man, he might have like invisible units. So I'm going to make an overseer and bring that across as well. And it's time to macro. Nope, don't. You've spent all game building this army. Let's use this army. So let's try and fight in a big wide open area. And we want to close the distance with our opponent. Now, why are we pulling back here? Because he was in a choke point. We don't want to fight in a choke point. So we're going to run backwards. And we're going to show you the 2 kinds of micro. The main is picking the engagement. So if he can come out in the open, I'll fight him. Come in the open. That's where I can fight. Okay? He's not coming in the open. I don't really want to fight. The other type of micro is, okay, let's go home. I guess I'll do a bit more macro, but only to build more army. We're not building any drones, no upgrades, nothing. You know what? I need to attack. I built a big army. So we're going to show you the other army, the other micro, okay? And this is where you click your roaches past their army. And then you attack move them. So you see all my roaches are attacking. Hands off the keyboard. Oh, you notice they're all stuck behind each other? Okay, let's micro again. Move forward, and then attack. So it's right click behind their army, and then attack move. And what you're doing is you're just trying to get all your roaches on top of their units to have a good time. Behind this, inject. Wait. You're looking away from your army. Why? Because I just killed his army. My guys are killing everything. I've attack moved him into his main. Now that I've won the fight, I've defeated the threat of his army. Oh, now I can look at home. Okay, so now that I've basically killed the army, there's nothing to micro in that fight. Let's take drones from my main, drones from my natural, send them to the third. Let's get a queen. Maybe I can get 2 Evo chambers to get upgrades. Hydroden. You'll have a set kind of idea of what you want to go for next in your game based on how you play. We'll be like, oh yeah, inject, more drones, overlords, drones, cool. And then we can go back and go, hey, is the fight still going good? Yeah, it looks like it's still going good. This is awesome. Oh, not so awesome. Not so awesome. No. So, two things. Number one, lots of immortals in a choke point. Number two, there's actually a bunch of blurry boys there. Those are DTs. So we're gonna run home, build more roaches, inject, build more roaches. Now, why don't we need to watch right now? It's because we clicked home. And that's an important thing. A lot of people stare at their army as they're running home. Oh, kill the Dark Templar. This is an important concept for you guys to understand. If you're ever feeling too stressed and like you can't look away from the fighting, here's a little trick, okay? Here's a little trick. Oh, too many units. What do? Click them on the minimap all the way back to your base. He can't, unless he's got way faster units than you. Why do we need to watch this? They're automatically disengaging. Anytime you disengage from a fight, click them way back. What a lot of low-level players do is they make this mistake. Inject, build gases, build roaches. Oh, wow, okay, this is too fast, Pig. You're cheating right now. Yeah, okay, I kind of am. But what people will do is they'll go, oh, I'm kind of worried to fight here, and they'll click here. And they'll kind of like, notice how I'll click here. Notice how the units keep going back in, and they click here. Don't! What is this? If you're disengaging, disengage. Click them all the way back. Straight away, okay, guys? All the way back. So too many times, people don't make up their mind about what they want to do. Macro cycle, inject, build roaches, and let's win this game. We don't want to play with our food, guys. This is obviously, let's finish it off. The last mechanic we're going to talk about, once my opponent's out of this game. We're going to move in here and just kill the main base. Opponent has pretty good macro. Oh, so his army's coming up the ramp. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that move command, move command, a move. We'll just let them do the work from there. Notice they're pretty much all fighting, so we don't need to do any other commands. And it's time to talk about the last mechanic, which I have not mentioned yet, guys. Control grouping eggs. This is the most important thing so that you don't become a select all army hotkey noob. Now, why is this important? Because Starcraft is most fun when you engage in the tactics and the actual unit movement. And especially as a Zerg, what is Zerg about? Spreading your creep, growing across the map, growing a big economy, and then waiting for your opponent to come in and at the last second surrounding them and enveloping them. It's about when you aren't quite ready to fight, backstabbing them, running Zerglings and roaches into their mineral lines. Think about all the cool pro Zerg players you guys have watched and how they play. Even at a low level of play, you can do this. And it actually makes StarCraft so much more fun. It gives you so much comeback potential. Players who don't do this often end up mired in this mindset of, man, I can't make comebacks. It's just too hard. I can't make comebacks ever. It just, it doesn't work. His army's better than mine, I lose. And when you start splitting your army up and using run-bys and counterattacks and all this sort of stuff, oh my god, it changes everything. So what is control grouping eggs? Well, like I said, we have two control groups. Hatcheries on number 1, roaches on 2. Technically, I have my bloody spawning pool on number 6 over here, which is actually, it's not important at all. Don't worry about that. Whenever we build units, keep your eyes on this wireframe down here. So we're going to select just one hatchery to show you a nice simple example because it doesn't have too many lava. So notice there's 46 roaches right now. What I'm going to do is I am going to select lava. I'm going to build 1, 2, 3 roaches. And then I want to add those to my army. So we're going to go Shift 2. Big problem.
Thanks for the...
Not only did I add those roaches to the army, and when I move my army around, notice that you're getting rally points from the eggs, which shows that they're going to come there once they pop. The problem is these lava are also on the control group. So if I now build some drones and overlords, I've accidentally got drones and overlords in my army, which I really don't want workers and supply units in my army. Ugh. So what I'm going to do, well, I'm actually going to use the alt mechanic, which we'll talk about later, to steal those off. And let's try that again and use a better mechanic, okay? So let's go to my natural that has a few more lava on it. What we're going to do, so we're back to 49 roaches on control group 2. We're going to select a hatchery and build a roach, 2 roaches. And what we're going to do is we are going to hold down control and we're going to left click I want a picture of the egg, and that's going to select all the eggs across all my hatcheries. We're going to go shift 2. So we've selected the eggs, we've added those to our army. You can see they're going to automatically be already rallying out to where our army is. But we didn't get the lava. The lava's not on our key. And this is something you should always be doing. So you might have noticed that this is what I was doing every macro cycle, is I was going inject, 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 build roaches, control click, shift 1 or shift 2. And then I would reselect the hatcheries and build my overlords separately from that to make sure they don't end up on my army key. This is a game-changing mechanic. I did not know you could do this until a LAN I went to in early 2011, less than a year after Starcraft 2 came out. And I saw someone doing this, and I was like, what the hell? How are you getting your units on your control groups? And he was like, you don't control click your eggs? Dude, you're a pretty high-level player, what? And I was like, huh? You can... Wait. I can have my army on my control group before it's even on the map. This is a game-changing mechanic. It means I build those roaches, I add them to my control group, and then I go back to microing my army around attacking. And guess what? The other roaches are already coming across the map to join it. I don't need to be going back and trying to find roaches at rally points or sitting next to hatcheries. And it's an absolute game changer. And this is something you want to build as a base habit underneath all your other skill sets. And if you think you're too bad at StarCraft to do this, just watch one of Dot's streams when she's playing Zerg, guys. My lovely wife doesn't know what any of the buildings are. She barely knows the name. She's like, I want the building that I want to make the swarm host units. And I go, cool. Well, why don't you get them? She's like, what building do I need? I'm like, the infestation pit. She goes, what's that? And I'm like, oh my lord. I'm like, how do you build swarm hosts all the time? She's like, yeah, I can't remember what building it is. I'm like, oh my god. But what does she have? Because she learned very early on the macro cycle, inject. And she control groups her eggs. She masses Roach Hydra and fucks people up in Gold and Platinum League like no tomorrow because she has that underlying basis of she batches up her spending her money, adding them to a control group, and just overwhelms and smothers people. She regularly sees her opponent's units and is clicking on them going, what's that thing? What's that thing? And yet she messes people up because she's got the base mechanical habit that allows all her awesome kind of tasks to get automated. And I cannot speak about how many hundreds and thousands of StarCraft players I've run into who never develop these base habits. And they're so obsessed with this unit counters that unit or this or that. And it's a shame because that stuff is a very cool part of StarCraft, but because they've been kind of either too lazy or they haven't found out about the right techniques or they're too lazy to develop them, they end up, all their game knowledge or good decisions are mired in a sea of kind of the physical inability to play and execute the game. So what I mean is this is the analogy of the soccer coach who is so damn good, but he's really fat or something. He can't run fast. He can't kick a ball good. It doesn't matter how good you are, because in StarCraft you have to be the super athletic guy who goes and scores goals, and you also have to be the coach at the same time. So it's a blending of the pure physical side, speed, action, building good systems, getting things done in a high intensity situation, and the strategic level of choosing kind of when and where to do things, how to adjust your strategies, how to improve your fundamental systems. So it's something where you've got to remember that you need to always understand that there is an intersection between those two. You could have the best coach in the world for a soccer team, but if he's coaching 6-year-olds, they're not going to win a World Cup anytime soon. So there is a balance between those two at all times. And hey, we got our first win there in Bronze League. So this might seem arduous to some who've said, I thought I was tuning into a Bronze 2GM and I'd learn how to win. Well, we finally got to showing you a very simple build order there of make roaches and go. But I think what's really important, and what I want you to clue into, especially since I know there's going to be a lot of people here who've already watched Vibe's Bronze 2GM series, and he does such a good job of teaching macro mechanics and the power of numbers. I want you from the very beginning as a player, and I think this is a great way to learn the game, to engage in the strategic and the tactical side, especially of how to attack. And I want you to also engage in the side of looking at your army and just getting a feel for what the heck's going on, enjoying ripping your opponent's army to shreds, but also going, oh my god, my army's getting butchered. And then to rewind that game and to go, wait a second, what's happened here? I ran up a ramp into 8 siege tanks in a really tight area. And it was like, it was a real World War I style charging into the machine guns and artillery assault. And I want you to purposefully start macroing. I'm happy for you to float thousands of resources. Your macro cycle, you're meant to do every 30 seconds. And I want you to try to be pretty tight on that in the first 5 minutes of the game. But once you get your Roach army out of the map and start attacking, it's okay. Maybe you'll only do it once every minute or every minute and a half because you're busy focusing on using that army well and effectively at that moment in time. And this is an important thing for you to start engaging in early because this teaches you timing. And timing is one of the least understood and most important elements in StarCraft. People will say, you know, roaches aren't a good unit. Carriers aren't a good unit. This is good, that's bad. And that is never true in StarCraft without taking into account at what moment in the game it is. So if you build a roach army, it's nice and simple. It's going to get really bad the longer that game goes. That last game I played, my opponent got a lot of immortals out. They were a hard counter to my roaches. If I let it go long enough and he got enough immortals out, he would have minced my army really hard. It was important that I attacked when I did, and then I kept attacking and kept his army smaller. And this is something you'll learn more with time. His armies are good at certain points in the game. They're good in certain positions and bad in other positions. And it's never too early to start learning that. So we want to focus on a kind of, there's almost like a division in how we're starting to learn. We start off the game going, all right, macro, we need 2 bases of workers full, and then just get that up as quickly as possible. Hit our injects, hit our macro, build good habits. But there's going to be a shift where it's like, okay, you practiced your macro. Once you've got your army and you're moving across the map, it's much more focused on how do I attack? Where do I attack? How do I learn some good systems, learn some basic micro and develop that over time? And basically what this is it's making all that macro you did in the first 5 minutes, all of that building up a big army and being efficient, it's making that worth something. So one of the things that I don't like is people macroing really well and then throwing armies away really badly repeatedly. Because to me, it feels like your workers have worked so hard. You've built this beautiful base. And then you're just throwing your army away by not looking at it. Number one, it's not fun. But number two, it's disrespectful and it's wasteful. It's very unenvironmental. Just throwing armies away. It's fucked. I don't like it, man. It's just not as fun. And the problem is if you focus too hard on macroing, so say we went to 3 full bases rather than 2, you're giving your opponent more time to get better units up, and there's more chance they're going to beat your army. There's less of a window for that like basic roach army to actually do well. So we want to make sure we give ourselves that fierce cutoff point of don't be like, oh, I'll just build another 10 or 15 drones for my 3rd base and it'll be fine. No, because what you're doing is you don't have a lot of actions and you want to make sure, no, I have 2 bases. That's all I need. Let's fucking go across the map and attack our opponent. And you've got to give yourself this kind of restricted point to cut off and go try and kill your opponent. And sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't, but it's going to force you to really, really understand how to attack and start getting better at that early so that we actually can lean into a wide varied skill set rather than just banking on macro or just banking on this or that. We've got to get comfortable interacting with our opponent, and attacking is one of the best things you can do in StarCraft because it gives you scouting, it makes your opponent makes mistakes, it punishes them for being greedy, it keeps you safe against their aggression. It's amazing. So that's enough of a rant. I'm going to take a pee, and we're going to get straight into a few more games, and we're going to start to apply this build order, the control grouping eggs, the macro cycle, and see how many people we can kill with just roaches, and let's hope no one builds air units, because holy shit, I don't want to have to build hydras. That sucks. Anyway, we'll be right back with that next part of B2GM. And I said this at the start, and I want to reiterate, I suck at thinking about the game from a bronze player's point of view. I can't. Guys, I'm at least a 9 out of 10 expert in StarCraft. Maybe not a 10 out of 10 these days, because I think you got to be a tippity top pro. But I'm at least a 9.5 expert in StarCraft too. When you're that deep down the well, it's hard to put your mindset in a beginner. So if there's things here where you're saying, wait, how are they meant to understand that? You haven't explained. Let me know in chat. Shout me out in chat. Are you going to talk about where we should be looking on the screen? The minimap, looking at the money, etc. Says all Scorpion. That's a good question. At some point, yeah. I think for now, I mean, it's kind of a higher level thing. I think that's kind of hard. So anyway, guys, send the Overlord across, select the hatchery, built a drone, built an Overlord, build another drone. What about Queen, Management, Hotkeys, etc., says Mavsio. I already explained that we're only building 1 queen for each hatchery, so 2 queens. With where we're up to, we don't have any hotkeys for our queens. If you really want to, so you don't have to do that boxing with the injecting, I think there's a good point there. Is something you could do instead is you could put your queens on, say, control group 4 or 5 or something like that. And then when you inject, you don't have to box each time. Some people might prefer that. That's an option you could use with your queen injecting. So for anyone who's like, oh yeah, I want to do that, definitely that's an option you guys could do if you don't like the boxing. But I think the boxing is good practice anyway. Personally, that's like my attitude to a lot of things. People are like, oh, that's harder than it needs to be, and I'm like, it's good practice. You know, I've got a lot of that old man who's like, the more hard work you put in, the stronger you get. You know, I've got a little bit of that with Starcraft, where I'm not really interested in coddling people too much. So yeah. When do you decide to mine gas? As soon as your gas guys is finished, or even before then, you can already rally workers onto it. So notice I've got 16, so I can actually control click the eggs, right click on the gas, build another drone, right click on the gas. Now we want to build a queen as soon as the spawning pool's finished, so we're going to do that. If we're moving an overlord across the map, it would be nice to know why we care. Well, we actually don't care early on, guys. The overlord is just moving across the map, just to chill over there, and we're gonna start thinking about that a little bit more down the track. Right now, we have too many kind of basic things to worry about, but we should come to that soon. So that's a very good thing to talk about. So, main saturated, so we rally to the natural. We're gonna queue up another queen straight away, and we're just gonna keep building drones. And remember, let's overlords out front the base, create a nice like little ring of vision here, inject, and jump to the natural. Keep building drones. So every now and then in the early game when there's nothing going, select a hatchery, build drones. This is a good habit to build, just kind of tapping, select hatcheries, try to select lava, build drones. Select hatcheries, and you can see I'm doing it even when I don't have lava. We've got 100 gas, so let's make Zergling speed. Build inject, build drones. Now what you might notice is this queen might be ready to inject, but I want our injects to be in sync. So we are not going to use that straight away. Hey, we could shoot the overlord a little bit, would be fun. And it's a Zerg opponent. I'll move my overlord back a little bit. Macro time. Inject, build drones. And we want to build overlord as well, but I accidentally didn't save a lava there. So I'm going to wait for my next lava to pop out. So I'm going, I need overlords. And we're at 36 supply, so it's time to build a roach farm. Let's try and build another overlord, why not? And we're just chilling, guys, right? So the main thing with the overlord when you start is if you put it outside their base or at the front of their base, it's just, do we see a big attack coming to kill us? If so, that's going to give us a warning. Macro cycle, inject, build some drones, and build an overlord. Now remember, we're almost at 44 supply, so let's go take that third base. If you've already got the money, you don't need to be obsessed about the supply count. I've got extra money, I might as well just put it down, okay guys? And now, well, let's take our gases. Let's do all this stuff a bit earlier this game time. We've got nothing to do. Let's take a lair. Now notice, check this out, guys. This base needs more workers. It's a little undersaturated. So inject. And remember, when we take all of our gases, select the main, build the drones manually, click them on the gas. Go to the natural, select it, build 3 drones, click on the gas. Select the hatchery again, build 3 drones, click on the gas. Now, you don't have to do that manually by clicking on each hatchery. You could do it off your control group, but it just means the drones might be rallying back and forwards between your bases. Let's build overlords as well, because we forgot to build overlords in that cycle while we were doing it that way. So guys, we have 2 bases. You can see they're a little slightly under saturation. Doesn't matter, it's close enough. Inject, and it's roach production time. Once again, we didn't save lava for overlords. Oh no! So notice, guys, when we build overlords, click to the back. Build overlords, click to the back. Pig, how did you place your ring of vision? Are those attack routes? At this point, we're just kind of generally clicking them out front our base. And you know what? I actually didn't put ones on the edges. So let's take this guy, put it on the edge to spot air, and on that edge. So we're putting one up to the left of our third base over here, and one down here below the main as well. Inject, build roaches. If you really want to be very on top of these, definitely if you put these overlords kind of out front these different attack paths, so like there, and like here, into your 3 bases, that's a good way to do it. That's a really good way to do it. So dude is saying this isn't helping. If you're actually bronze silver, if you really are bronze silver, this doesn't help. There's only general ideas help there, like building workers and spending your money. Inject, build roaches, and build an overlord. So, am I not showing people how to build drones and stuff? Though? Am I not showing those things, dude? Because like, I get if someone is purposefully trying not to learn that they might not understand, but I'm really wanting, I want this criticism because you're absolutely right. Someone who's stuck in bronze might not learn from this. I'm just not sure I want to handhold somebody who's that, I don't know, unable to learn. Like I don't really, and this is why I've always rebelled against B2GM, is I don't really want this to be a hand-holding series, I guess. I guess that's my whole thing is, I'm not interested in trying to teach people who don't want to learn. And that's something I probably should have said at the very start of the series. If you're not willing to put any effort in, you're playing the wrong game. Go play, I don't know, the latest Fast and the Furious game. Personally, that's my opinion. I don't know if Starcraft's going to be a very satisfying game because it's really a struggle, and it takes critical thinking and it takes a lot of effort. We're gonna go for our roach attack now. It's just for me, this is building. We're building 2 bases of workers as quickly as possible. I'm trying to vocalize what I'm doing. I'm attack moving me roaches across the map, and my roaches accidentally split up. So on this map, the pathing's a bit funny, and I've accidentally split my army up. Oh no! Oh, save these roaches! Go out there, help them! Well, my roaches seem to be fighting. If there's nothing you can do to improve the micro, jump home, inject, build roaches, control group them. And this might be something where you feel very nervous, you want to look back at the fight. It is a good habit that Vibe teaches to look away from fights. You want to be able to do it at will. So sometimes force yourself to look away just to practice that muscle of holding back your instinct to stare at the fight. And then look back at it. And go back to, okay, this is very important. Let's tunnel vision on the fight. Move on top of those roaches. And do some, move on, attack, move. Move on, attack, move. Oh my god, my opponent has a base up there. There's roaches rallying from up there. My opponent has a lot of bases. Let's run away. Get in the base. Let's win the game. But I do think that, you know, I want more criticism on and specific questions on, well, this part is a bit overwhelming. I think you need more of X. You need more of Y to understand or to teach this or that. I think that's really useful, guys. So please keep the criticism coming, because this is what I kind of need. And Vibe has that as well. In his B2GM, he's got a few people who've been there for a lot of B2GMs. I've watched, not that much, but bits of it. And they go, hey, Vibe, you haven't really mentioned this thing. I think a new player might not get that. And he's like, that's a good point. And it really helps him kind of constantly refocus. So I'm going to rely on you guys doing that as we go.
Mineral field.
I feel like someone who's in bronze can follow this. It might take some time to get every aspect right, but people who are bronze are capable of learning. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think... So the way I'm thinking of it is what I was saying at the start, is you should not be focused on winning. Those first 2 games where I got crushed, you're not going to then instantly start winning the way I have. Because I'm not having to put in the hard work. So there is something about what I've done so far that is a false representation. And that is, I've made it look like there's a much quicker progression. We've just done a time lapse. You're going to need to play for multiple days, 10, 20 games on the ladder, doing what I did in those first 2 games. Inject, getting used to setting your camera locations and all that sort of stuff. Now, what if you don't use camera locations? Like I said at the very start, you can use an easier method where you don't have to do the camera location stuff. But the most important things are, what are we doing? We're getting used to the build order, right? 17 pool, 17 hatch, 17 gas, 36 roach horn, 44 third base, 2 bases full of workers, and then doing nothing but building roaches and going to attack. So we're focusing on that with the macro cycle as our main underlying habit. If you don't have a build order, that's fine. So let's define this. If you guys are in bronze or silver, you might not even have the build order yet. You might want to simplify this more. What's a way we can simplify it more for you guys who are in bronze and silver, and even gold potentially? 17 pool, 17 hatch, 17 gas. But from there, keep it real loose. Just drop a roach horn at some point when you remember. But otherwise, drone up 2 bases, then make roach. That's it. It's just make 2 bases. Don't even bother with the 3rd hatchery if you don't want. Just 2 bases, make roaches, go kill your opponent. Super, super simple. The important thing is building the habit of doing that macro cycle. Notice how well on time I am, where I'm batching it up. I'm taking gases, I'm building a layer, and then I go, ooh, let's do a macro cycle. We can watch this from my camera. Inject, inject, and you can see the production tab as well up here in the top left. And then I'm building lots of drones, and I'm putting the drones on the gases at this point while I'm building them to show you that mechanic. So I'm trying to kind of show you guys things as I go a little bit. But it's going to take you longer as a new player to internalize these things. You're going to need to spend more time rehearsing them. The same way a music teacher can show you how to play a song, and then move on to another song, you're going to need to put a lot more practice before getting from song 1 to song 2. Or from one chord to the next, right? So I think that's something I should iterate now, and just I want you guys to keep challenging me on that and other things. Why? Because I am not going to handhold and talk about the exact same mechanic for hours on end. I am going to start trying to win the game. Yeah. You're making roaches in this build, so why are we making speedlings? So the reason for Zergling speed is basically anytime before the roach horn happens, our opponent could attack us. And we're going to need to build Zerglings, and Zerglings suck without Zergling speed. So making Ling speed is going to allow those Zerglings to be a good defensive unit if we need them. And it's also just a good habit because Zerglings are kind of the base unit. You could also add those to your roaches if you want to. If you want to, you could skip it out. The important thing here is just to start building good habits, and most builds are going to involve Zergling speed if you're doing, to be safe before the roaches are ready, number 1, and if you're playing a Zergling style later on. So we're just building it as a habit, and it's just a good thing to kind of practice going, ooh, I got to remember to start Zergling speed when I have my first 100 gas, which you're going to forget a lot of the time. But yeah, it's a good way to do it. This might not be applicable to low-level players, but can you explain how the ladder MMR works? I just managed to get myself in a diamond. It keeps warning me that I'm going to be demoted. A master player just beat me and got 95 points for winning. I'm confused. There's a ladder bug at the moment, so everyone's showing up as either in bronze or masters. That doesn't mean anything. All that matters is these numbers here, your MMR. When you first play on ladder, basically what happens is you cannot get demoted mid-season because they think it'll make people sad if they get demoted. But it doesn't matter because this shiny rank means nothing. All that matters is this number, and this number will change. And it will match you with people who are near your number, okay? With the MMR. So at the end of in the new season, if you've gone down 2 whole leagues, that's when it'll actually place you in the new one. So you can rank up during a season, you can't rank down. Just a funny feature of it. Now, when you first get placed, when you first play your ladder games, your first 25 games are played with provisional MMR. And that means you get a lot more MMR when you win a game, and you lose a lot more when you lose a game. So that allows it to kind of go, just if a few people leave games, don't worry. Because even though you got some wins there, you'll start losing very quickly. And as you lose those games, it'll very quickly drop you down the ladder until it finds more even opponents for you. So have a go of it. And just remember that all that matters is that MMR. The leagues, they're kind of nice borders to think about, but you shouldn't obsess over them. The MMR is the true thing that tells you where you are on the ladder, and even when the seasons show you the wrong thing, it's it's like not really gonna show the false thing at all. How do you handle newly hatched roaches that you build without looking at the base? Do you rally them to the enemy base? How do you add new spawn roaches from eggs to your army without looking? Do you just add eggs to the army control group? Absolutely I do. We talked about that just before. And I'll talk about it again once we get to the roach building stage of this game. Good question, Turan. Pig, I want your hats. Gently let me down. As you explain, it's impossible to have them. Yeah, you can't have them. If you're Pumbaa, are you going to dress in drag and do the hula? For sure. Let's rally drones to the gas. Because we've already got 16 on minerals. Build a queen. Did you cover spreading drones across mineral patches? No, not important at this league. So we're going to talk about that I see you doing it. Oh, really? Did I do it? That's just muscle memory. It's because I'm reading chat, guys. So when I'm reading chat, I'm going to do a few higher level things that you don't need to worry about. Good question. Oh, we're getting shot. Back to the pervert pillar. No worries. Keep building drones. We've already got that 21 overlord on the way. So we'll put that overlord out front there and that overlord out front there. Secure up our extra queen. And we're just going to go select the hatchery, build the drones. Select the hatchery, build the drones. Whenever there's not anything to do, what do, guys? Select the hatchery, build the drones. This is saturated, so we select our hatcheries, rally them to the natural, and that queen moves to the natural as well. Oh, our opponent is going to try and kill our overlord. Oh no, doesn't matter. Just build an extra one. So I'll just build 2 overlords to make sure. We're going to send one down there, and we'll select the other one, and click up there. You mentioned panic zerglings. Let's make zergling speed, good point. How do I know when to be building panic zerglings? Well, if your opponent's coming across the map with lots of fighting things. So a good habit to build is let's build 1 zergling, and we're going to put that outside our opponent's base. I was using my overlord as that up to now, but because my overlord died, we should replace it. So we're going to put those zerglings, and if we see our opponent move out, maybe we build some zerglings. Usually we don't need to worry too much about that. That's kind of a higher level thing. So one of the things is if your opponent just rushes in and kills you before you're ready, when you're first learning this build, don't think about building zerglings. Instead, just focus on doing your build better. Because the better you get at injecting, at building your early units, the faster this roach horn comes down, the faster you'll get all your workers up on 2 bases. So I actually would say, as a learning mechanism, inject, build drones, build overlords, don't even react. Don't even worry about it. We're just going to put that overlord on this pillar to keep it safe. So instead, actually purposefully let yourself lose games while you're focusing on the basics, okay? Remember what we said before, guys? Gas, gas, gas. And a lair. And if we want, we can select the hatcheries and build a few drones as well. But not too many because it's macro cycle time. Inject, inject. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to do the lazy way of rallying drones. Build 3 drones, reselect hatchery, build 3 drones, right click, reselect hatchery, build 3 drones, right click. Oh, we were 1 short. No worries. We'll take 1 off minerals and put it there. And after that, we're going to build overlords. Oh, this guy's so annoying. Look at this. This guy's chasing all my overlords around with this marine. There's marines. Has he got barracks all over the map with these barracks everywhere? He's killing me overlords. This guy's a legend. Ignore it as much as I'm joking, guys. Don't think about it. Inject, inject. Build roaches, build overlords. Click them to the back, okay? Now notice because we have zerglings outside his base, we're going to see if he actually comes out. We can even run a zergling in for a scout. And he's building ghosts and marines. It's not time to think about scouting. All we react to is if he moves out earlier than this, maybe we would have built more units. But for now, we just want to focus on the build. Inject, inject. Build roaches and build overlords. Oh, he's coming. So this is where I get to use my high-level game knowledge, guys. I forgot me 3rd base this game, by the way, because he was distracting me. Let's take that 3rd now. Let's make 2 overseers, just in case those ghosts have cloak. In the meantime, in between production cycles, we're just gathering up our roaches. Oh, I forgot to talk about how I'm control grouping them. So let's do that in a second. First of all, if an attack's coming and you're not ready, pull way back. Inject, inject, build roaches. When you build your roaches, you're going to control click. So control left click, shift 2, or whatever your army key is. And now those eggs are coming to where our roaches are going. So I don't want to fight yet. Why? My roach speed isn't done. I've got a lot more roaches about to come. I don't want to fight till they're ready, guys. He might force me to, but notice, pull behind the hatchery. If you guys look through my Welcome to Starcraft videos, there's a lot of tips like this that I'm trying to teach you how to not fight until you're ready. See, and he's a bit afraid. He killed my queen, but I'm waiting. Inject, build roaches, build overlords. Roach speed's done. We've got a lot more roaches about to come. And notice he's not really killing my drones. If he was killing my drones, we'd pull those back as well. We'd go, run away. But let's go for it now that roach speed's done. So remember, what's the micro? Click behind his army, attack move. Click behind his army, attack move. Now he's trying to kill those overseers, which is what we expected. So maybe we could have made a few more there potentially. Now here's another mechanic. So once again, how do you control group the eggs? Inject, inject, build roaches, control click, add to your army group. Shift 2. So it's build roach, control click in this wireframe to select all the eggs, shift 2. If you then want to build overlords or drones, you build them separately. So if you want to build overlords, remember, you always want to click those overlords out for vision. Select overlord, build, right click. Select hatchery, build overlord, right click. So this way we're putting overlords out. Or later on in the game, let's build a bunch of overlords and click them up here to the back of my base so they're not sitting out front and we don't get supply blocked. If we're building drones, well, we just build them and the rally points handle it. But there's something we missed, guys. We pulled workers off. Oh no, we pulled workers off. Ugh. Ugh. Oh no, how do we put them back on efficiently? That's it, just do that, guys. Ping! Oh, what'd you do? It's just that, just do that. Why can't you guys just do that? Just do that. I love it because people are always like, what is that? I see pros, they do the thing. What did you just do? What did you just do there? I'm like, what? Just do it. This is shift deselecting or cloning. So this is a mechanic where basically we need to understand what control, shift, and alt do, okay? So alt is not important for now. We'll talk about that later. That steals units off control groups. I guess we can mention it really quickly. We've got 36 roaches on control group 2. If I want to send some to go defend a drop in my main base, I want to put them on number 3. I go alt 3, and notice they got removed. That was 36 roaches. Now it's only 23. And these guys are on number 3, and these guys are on number 2. So alt is for splitting your control groups up, okay, guys? Whenever you do it, it's the same as control in that it creates a new control group, but it also removes from existing control groups. This mechanic only was invented with Legacy of the Void. It's really good for splitting your units up. It's great. Okay, so that's alt. That's got nothing to do with this one. How do you do cloning or deselecting? Well, first of all, what does control click do? Some of you might be doing these, double clicks. If you guys are used to double clicking to select all of a unit type on a screen, break that habit right now. It's inefficient, it's awkward, it's much better to control click. It's not too bad. There's the high level players who still double click, so it's not the worst. But control click does the same thing, but even better. So if you control click, it selects all of that unit type on a screen. Notice it grabbed all the overlords. Or control click selects all the drones. So control is to grab all of a unit type. And what does shift do? Well, shift adds or removes from a selection. So if I click on a drone, and then I shift click, sorry, wrong button. And then I shift click on another drone, then I shift click on an overlord. Notice now I have 2 drones and an overlord on my selection. If you think about it, you can then combine control and shift. So let's say I accidentally got the overlords, the drones, and the roaches all on my army. Look at my army key, guys. It's 72 units, including 9 overlords and 29 drones. Oh, Jesus, this is a nightmare. How am I going to get rid of those units? Well, a kind of fancy mechanic, which you don't really use a lot, but this just, I think, hits home what control and shift does, is you could use control and shift together to remove all of a unit type. So I can tab through here. And you can press tab to go through these screens because only 24 shows up on each one. And you'll notice I'm actually going through the different unit types here, by the way. Oh, that's funny. Is we can go control shift and click an overlord, left click, and it's removed every overlord. We can control shift on a drone, it's removed every drone. We can control shift on a drone, all the drones have been added back in. So let's remove those drones. We can recreate our army group. Just the roaches, no drones and overlords in there. Okay. So if you guys ever end up with a whole bunch of shit jumbled together, control shift to remove the units you don't want, remake your army group, clean, beautiful, very nice. That's also something you're not going to use as much. So this is important because now you understand control click selects all of a unit type and shift click adds or removes. Kind of, you know, if it's already in the thing, it removes it. If it's not, it adds to it, if that makes sense. So when we're control grouping eggs, what are we doing, guys? We are selecting all of the eggs. And this is not screen based because this is the wireframe. It's selecting all the eggs across all the hatcheries, adding them to our army. And you're going to see, look at that. So that way we don't get the lava in the selection. Okay, awesome. So now how do we put guys back on gas? Well, we can use that same mechanic. What we're essentially doing here is we are giving everyone an order just by telling everyone to go on the gas. We're then going to say shift left click, left click, left click. So we're removing 3 drones. So they're going to keep the existing order while everyone remaining goes on the other gas. Shift, left click.
Thanks for the
base. Left click. And release shift, of course. Don't just hold shift down the whole time like some people do. Click back on the minerals. So what you've done, in layman's terms, you said, hey, every worker on the base, you guys mine from that gas. And then you say, everyone but 3 of you now mine from the other gas. Everyone but 3 of those from the remaining go back on minerals. And that's all you're doing. And you just practice this a bunch of times in a custom game or whatever, versus an AI, versus no opponent. That's all we're doing. Right click, shift, left click 3 times. Right click, shift, left click 3 times. And it doesn't matter what drone I click on. And then right click on the minerals. Common mistake some people make when they're first learning this is they click on the last drone. So they'll be like, click. And then they need to move their cursor. Click. Click. Whereas you just want to have it in the same spot. You just click on one of the first. So you don't have to bother moving your mouse each time. Click on the minerals. So, and apparently I left 1 too many on there. Oops. I clicked 1 extra time. So that is a really useful mechanic. Now, the other way we can use that mechanic, and this is one of the other things that is a real fundamental skill, which once we've talked about, literally you have the full basis of fundamental skills covered. So for anyone who's wondering why there's so many mechanics and all this deep stuff, it's because StarCraft's a fast game and we're teaching you how to make it way less stressful and way more fun. But it takes a little bit of work to get there, to get it easy. If you guys don't want to learn all these mechanics at once, don't. Just learn 1 or 2 at a time, a week or 2 down the track, work on the next one. So what we're giving you in these first couple sessions of B2GM is a big list of things that you can slowly work on 1 or 2 at a time. And depending on how methodical you are, you could be a mega nerd who's learnt multiple instruments, who's learnt multiple programming codes, and you're like, I'm going to learn it correct from the start. And you're going to go in and grind these mechanics, and you're going to go into ladder already with all these mechanics, making the game a little bit smoother. So you can focus on the tactics and the strategy and all that sort of stuff, right? Other people, it'll be more, I want to hop straight on the ladder and I'll just learn 1 thing to start, and then I'll add another one down the track. And that's really cool. So that trick with putting the workers back on gas, that also is a very important technique, which once you get used to control grouping your army all the time and you aren't just spamming F2, becomes useful. If you guys are using F2, this does not apply to you. If you're not control grouping your army, this does not apply to you. Don't bother learning it until you've learned how to control group your eggs. And this is how we put units on the map, the map control. We're going to add some Zerglings, since those are usually the units we'd be wanting to use, but we'll just use roaches for now. We're going to say, whole army, go there, deselect a roach, whole army 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 go there, deselect a roach, come back, remake control group. Notice how, if you watch the minimap, I've got roaches spreading all across the map to both scout the attack paths and block my opponent's bases. I purposely did that very quickly and confusingly to show you how quick it can be. Now let's slow it down. It's the exact same mechanic. It's everyone goes to a scouting location, shift left click a roach, everyone remaining goes to the next one, shift deselect a roach, everyone goes to the next one, shift deselect a roach, continue, continue, click home. Only once you've done the whole thing, remake the control group. And you can tell I've done this correctly because watch this. 45 roaches on the control group. When I remake it, 40. Because I just sent 5 more roach scouts out to sit outside their base, add all the potential expansions. So this is shift deselecting or cloning. And you can use it, like we said, for the gases. Ah, run away, there's a banshee. Ah. Oh, okay, time to go back to mining. And this all just takes practice. So now you guys can see what I'm doing in these scenarios, because all of these mechanics are going to slip through. And there's going to be people who are saying, Pig, you're cheating. You're using too many advanced mechanics. You're doing this. Oh, we made it out of bronze. We're in silver, boys. Silver 3, let's go. Some of these mechanics are going to slip through. They will, inevitably. Whenever I'm explaining a different concept, I'm going to do some of these things without even thinking about it. And that is not, oh, you're doing the thing, I can't do it. Put some effing work in. I'm not going to babysit people who are like, I don't want to do any work I want to win the game, but I don't want to get better at the game or do effort. Go watch someone else's videos right now. I'm sorry, I've announced PSA. This is not going to help you if you're not willing to put any work in. I'm teaching you how to play the hardest, most badass game in the world. Put some effort in, and I will tell you, you will reap the rewards. You don't need to do that drone splitting jazz that I just did.